Checklist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
Special guest today, Chief Lee, Newport Police Department.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, welcome.
Thank you, it's great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. For those who don't know, you've just become the Interim Police Chief in Newport. And
Yeah, I live right over the line in Croydon. I have two children that are 12 and 14 years old. Been a police officer in New Hampshire for 19 years now. Did the first 13 years of my career with the state police. Started as just a uniformed trooper like everybody else. I did 9 years as a canine handler and then transitioned over into detectives. Started to get into polygraph and then transitioned over to Claremont. I supervised their detectives for a couple of years and then came over here to Newport in a variety of different roles, but mostly in detectives, and here we are today.
nice. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I was, Doug Ring was telling me, he's like, yeah, Alex just became the chief, and usually I'm one of the first people to know things, but I wasn't on this. I'm like, really? He's like, is he ready for this? Because, like I told him, he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, no, I don't mean it in a bad way, but unfortunately, like, police jobs tend to be more like politicians almost in a way, right? You got the budgets, there's so much more to it than just every day going out and, making arrests or, that kind of stuff. And
Solving crime.
yeah, and that's the unfortunate part about it, I think, is it's tougher because your job is more that, and, budgets especially, right? Like, now it's like, okay, I got to worry about everything and my guys, but now I got, budgets to deal with. Luckily, that's once a year. But you're right in the heat of it right now.
This role has been all new to me. I'm learning as I go. I like to say right now I have compound ignorance, which is I don't know a lot of things and I don't even know what I don't know yet. And I was very comfortable in my role in patrol and in detectives because I have a lot of experience in that, and whatever situation comes down the pike, I already know what to do. But now in this new role, as things pop up every day that need to be dealt with, it's all new to me. Some recent examples are, the phone lines aren't working right, or, the radio console went down, at night, and figuring out who do you call to get these things fixed, and how do all these different systems work? Because throughout my career, it's always been that's somebody else's issue,
right?
And now it's mine. And yeah, the budget is all new to me. We just had our budget hearing in front of the select board last week, so that was a new experience. But I'll pick it all up over time.
You'll get it. Yeah, it's so funny, backstory. So when I first met Alex, we had the market, and Alex came in a couple times, and a lot of the guys coming in, like Officer Marvin was coming in a lot too, and not detective, but he come in, and I think I asked Alex, I'm like, dude, how old are you? Because to me it looked like he was like early 20s. He's like, I've been a cop for almost 20 years. I was like, holy cow. I was like, dude, you aged well, because I was totally like, oh, this guy's new and all that.
Yeah, you, like, from a distance, you definitely look like you're in your 20s, but here I can tell
I appreciate
it. You got that seasoned cop look to you. So
I just hit 40 last year.
Oh, nice.
I hit that in June. I'm not looking forward to it. It's like,
I'm still in my mid-40s until June, so I got that going for me.
Yeah. So what are some of the things you're maybe hoping to do, like maybe some of your ideas that you think you can bring to town that will, help with, like, PR, I think, is a huge thing with the PD, with anything, but especially the PD, is those relationships with the community and, the trust and all that.
Yeah, you've already brought up the number one and the number two goals. So when I was appointed to this position, I was actually given a series of goals to work towards, and one of them was kind of increasing our community engagement. One thing that happened, it really started around COVID time, is everybody went indoors and we started cutting back on our public appearances, and And then, even after the COVID restrictions started getting lifted, everybody was still stuck in that mindset of, being inside the station and then responding to calls. And so one of our goals for this year is to get out in the community more, connect with people more. We've already started that. I mean, I've only been in the position for about 3.5 weeks, but last weekend at Winter Carnival, our guys set up a booth.
That was nice.
We had the UTV out there and equipment, showing the kids the tools of the trade and just talking with people. And the union was cooking, pulled pork sandwiches to draw people in and start the conversation. I did not see that, or
I would have had some pulled pork.
I should have went over there now.
It was good. I crushed about 2 or 3 of those.
Nice.
And then I got roped into doing the belly flop competition.
You did. I thought that was
Lovely.
you.
That was me.
Yeah, I thought it was, and I was like, I'm not 100% sure. And then I obviously knew it was PJ. He was wearing a kilt when he did it, and that's awesome. Like, that's the stuff that's so important, though, because those are the things that bring the community together, and those like really show that, yeah, I'm a police officer and whatever, but I'm still one of you. I'm here for the same reason you guys want police officers here, is for the safety and to have fun. And it's not all about giving you a ticket for speeding. It's so much bigger of a job than that. So
yeah, I want us
awesome.
I want us to be approachable and have
right.
those relationships with people like you and I had coming into the market every day, and
right.
Especially now that the weather's warming up, heading into the summer season. I'm asking my guys to be out there on Main Street, talking to people, going into the businesses, forming those relationships. Because once an incident happened, it's too late to start forming relationships.
Right.
You already have to have those in place, and
Right.
Maybe try and bring back some bicycle patrol downtown, that kind of thing. So definitely one of our biggest goals is increasing our connections with the community members, the business owners, the residents, the school, so forth. So that's one of the major ones. The other major one that you've already mentioned, which has to do with the budget, is we need to retain the people that we already have, because I am so fortunate that I came in and I have such a great group of men and women already. Their hearts are all in the right place. They're hard workers. So I need to do everything I can to keep them. It's a tremendous investment when you hire somebody new, and to train them and equip them and pay their salary and benefits. So to bring in a new employee, spend all of that money investing in them, and then to have them leave to go elsewhere after just a short period of time, a year or two, is a huge loss for the community. So we're going to work on retaining the people we have and hopefully recruiting a few new ones. I have 2 vacancies that I'd like to get filled. And so we are very fortunate this year. The select board and the town manager have prioritized implementing the salary study, which will bring our pay and benefits, up to par, up to the average of other similar communities in our area, which will hopefully help us keep the people we have and maybe attract some new ones. And as part of the budgeting process, I mean, you can't just always every year ask for more and more and more money. Right. So it required some sacrifices and some decisions and some choices about, well, what can we give up in order to implement that? And so if it means, well, we're only going to get 1 cruiser this year instead of 2, but to keep the boots on the ground, the people that are really doing the work here, I think it's worth it. So.
Yeah, we have the same issue at the school. We're both on the school board, and we get the new hires, we train them up, get them into the teaching, get them acclimated to the environment, and then they go and they leave to find better paying jobs in other towns. So it's a challenge I think we have in Newport is
very much
is maintaining personnel. And so we've worked on that with the school board to try to make sure that we pay our teachers, because just like the rest of the country's experiencing price increases, if we're not acknowledging that even though it's going to hurt each of us a little bit, it's going to help the teachers. And so I hope that study works out for y'all. And
it's tough because that's the thing people need to realize is the amount of money that either the town or the school spends in a new employee is substantial. So then if in 2 years they leave because, they make whatever more in another town, that's money you just lost. And so it's like, well, but they want another, whatever, $5,000 a year, $10,000, I don't know the difference, but we're not looking at the reality of, well, he actually probably had $30,000 looking into that employee from the training and everything, that if we could have retained them, we wouldn't have to spend on an expert. And that's a huge issue at the school, is retaining our employees, and we finally get them adjusted, and then it's a huge kink. It just
and on top of the pay, because it's not all just about pay, but it's having that good environment, and we talk about it all the time, that Newport just has its own feel. And I think what you're saying, from my perspective, is great. Have the cops get out there, because guys like me, they start sweating every time we talk to a cop or see a cop, even though it's just whatever societal, whatever it is.
Yeah,
I've never done anything wrong.
that environment that you talk about, the kind of community spirit that Newport has, is what has kept us.
I think so.
It's what has kept the people that we've kept, even in times when we weren't able to be competitive on salary. But that's something that's learned and developed over a period of time.
Not in the first year or two. It
exactly.
takes, holy cow.
And like Tim was talking about, with a police officer, it's really about a year from the time they apply until they are really ready to be out on their own, contributing. And over the course of that year, you're really spending $100,000 to pay them, pay their benefits, give them all their equipment, send them to the police academy. So you put that huge investment into them, and in that first year, your return on that investment is negative, because you're not. They're not ready to be out in a cruiser by themselves, responding to calls and patrolling. So you spend that huge investment, and then, like you said, then if they leave another year later, you haven't really recouped that. So it's going to be really important to us to keep our people for the long term. And it's not just important financially, it's also important to maintain that connection to the community, because it takes time for our police officers to get to know everybody in the community, and for everybody in the community to get to know them. And that just there's no replacement for longevity in terms of building those relationships.
Who forgot to turn the ringer off that time, huh?
You.
That was me.
That was you.
And I was like, I think my phone's over there. Oh, no, it's right there. My bad. It's so hard. It's interesting the challenges you face, like when we join the school board. So when you're on the outside and you go there, and then when you're on the inside, it's so different, because I'm a businessman. I'm used to things changing rapidly, right? There's an issue, boom, we're going to fix it. There's a drug issue, boom, we're going to fix it. It doesn't work that way in any government.
There's so much oversight, which isn't a bad thing. I tell you, every once in a while, bureaucracy has its role.
Right. It's just so much slower.
That's where it keeps us from making quick, rapid decisions, because sometimes, even when you make those quick, rapid decisions, they're not necessarily the best.
Right. And it's tough too.
But they're immediate, right? But in government, they try to prevent that.
And there's always a trade-off between trying to fill a short-term need and then your long-term goals. Over there on the soundboard, you just move one of those levers up and down and it just immediately changes, but it's not like that. You pull a little lever or you twist a dial, and it may take 3 years to start seeing the effects of that.
Yeah, I'd use the analogy of a barge. It's like moving a barge. It takes a long time with government to enact change. But once you do it and you get on that path, it kind of, once you get around that little hump, it kind of turns a little bit faster.
I think it's one of the things we see the most in the school is, we've really been I want to tackle this behavior issue. Yeah, it's not just a Newport thing. It's everywhere. Yes. But there's just no accountability, and that needs to change. But the thing is, and people don't realize, well, you should get rid of this person. Well, these people are all new, and it takes time. Now, in a couple of years, or what someone would deem as okay, well, principal's position, it takes 3 years to get used to, okay. And then maybe we get to that point and things don't change. Okay, but you can't just keep firing people and get new people, or you can't switch them out and expect change. It's just not going to happen. You need that consistency.
Yes.
With your employees and with what you tell them, which is, I think, the biggest thing we've found in the school, and things that are changing and have already changed, is just like we're not consistently doing something, and no one even knew we weren't consistently doing it. So we made that change. And it just takes time for it.
It takes time.
It
It takes
does take
long-term
time,
goals, like you
and-
said. You got to set those, and then just
And the
chip away at
leadership
them.
has to form those relationships
Right.
over time with the employees. You know, you can bring in the best leader in the world, but they can't come in day one and just make huge changes because they haven't built trust and
Right.
relationships with the employees. So,
In the Army, we used to take 30 days unless we saw something illegal or immoral or unethical. It's like, just sit back, bite your lip, and watch it, because you're not just watching, you know, the actions of people, but then you're looking at the processes that they follow, and you know, the second and third order effects, because there's so much more than just going up and talking to someone. Usually it's, all right, you got to talk to them, but then you got to also be prepared to realize that there's like 4 or 5 other things that you got to work on. And I think that's what we're doing as a town right now, from my perspective, is recovering from the pandemic stuff, and then now we're trying to come back into normal, back to the old ways, and not everything is like that.
yeah, and not every decision you make and not every investment you make is visible to everybody.
Right.
You know, a recent example that came up is they're making all of these investments and upgrades to our wastewater treatment plant. And that's not something that people driving by are going to notice. It's not something that when people are in their homes using their water, they're going to notice a difference. And but if it ever fails, they'll notice that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if we invest a ton of money into our wastewater treatment program and nobody notices anything for the next 20 or 30 years, then that was a success.
Yeah.
But it's not something that you can just show the people, look what we've done. You know, we all have come to take for granted that when you flush your toilet or turn on your sink, everything just works. But that doesn't come without work, and it doesn't come for free.
Right.
Yeah, this was things like, I mean, I asked Paul Brown at one point, because at one point we were like 25 million in grants or something like that, and I was like, where's all this money? Because I should see it, right? 25 million is a lot. He's like, well, the sewer treatment plant I think was like almost 19 or 16 or something. I'm like, there you go, like that's, and then other stuff's small. So, yeah, and no one's going to notice the sewer treatment plant.
That's right.
But everyone needs to realize, like, but hey, we did it, because if not, it would have been our expense out of our tax dollars. $16 million bonded out, still a lot of money to try to come up with. So
Yeah, I think we're up to like 27 million now in grants total.
Yeah.
And in addition to the wastewater treatment plant, some other examples are, you know, upgrading pipes under the streets and under the sidewalks. Again, things that you don't notice.
You only notice when it's an inconvenience on the traffic flow.
Right.
So then everybody will moan about that, but then, you know, they don't realize that they're going to have cleaner, fresher water, reliable for, like you said, the next 20, 30 years, hopefully.
And you
for you know, a few months of not even probably that long ago.
Right, and you let that stuff go, and you don't maintain it, you don't replace it, you don't upgrade it. One day, you end up paying the piper because there's a catastrophic failure, and nobody has water, and then everything is shut down, and everybody's asking, why didn't somebody think of this earlier before it got to this point? So.
Well, I can tell you this. Nikki, when she watches this, is going to use that example about some things that I need to do around the house. Some catastrophic failures coming my way. Thank you, Chief.
you're talking my language now. Like, I had sewer and drain company for 16 years, 17 years. I've already said that. I'm like, Newport, like the main line running from the sewer treatment plant down Main Street is original. Clay tile pipe from the early 1900s. Little pieces of patchwork here and there. I'm like, someday that thing's just going to go bloop. And the town's going to be like, well, we need, 30, 40 million to fix it. So luckily with some of this, like, those are huge infrastructure things that no one thinks of. I only think of it because I was in that business. No resident thinks of that until they flush and it doesn't work. You know?
And I don't think a lot of people realize what it takes to actually get these grants. It is not as simple as picking up the phone or sending an email and saying, can I get a check for $19 million, please?
It's like a college scholarship. Everything has to be...
Yeah,
you got to follow the instructions.
Grant writers are worth their weight in gold because it is. Everyone's already said it's so hard because you miss one thing, they'll just reject it. And remember, it's not just, Newport's applying for this. It's probably 1,000 other towns.
That makes it easier for the
Exactly.
man or woman sitting there or the committee reading it. It's like, oh,
We can
they
read
didn't
this
even
one
put the
out.
title on there.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
And
that's how I try to teach Zeta, like follow the instructions, because that's the easiest thing is if you don't have a title, like.
And it
simple
doesn't
things.
end either when you get the money.
Right.
The requirements of the grant continue because they want to check after the fact that you've spent it appropriately. I'm applying for some highway safety grant money right now to get a couple of those portable electronic speed signs for, maybe Maple Street, Bradford Road, Unity Road, where we get a lot of complaints about speeding vehicles. And some of those locations, it's kind of hard to put a cruiser out there. There's not a really ideal place to put one. So maybe some of these portable speed signs can help with that, and some enforcement equipment like a handheld laser, things of that nature. And the Office of Highway Safety has grant money available to do that. But in addition to having to fill out all the paperwork to get the money in the first place, then afterwards, they want to see data to show that we're putting it to good use. And so,
So then you got to set time aside to do the maintenance and the reporting, and then you.
So even grants that you received a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you're still on an ongoing basis having to go through the process so that you don't get charged that money back.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I was at a conversation with, I think it was with Hunter about they want to put a well up by the airport, so we bought that piece of land because it has like great water, and he's like, I have the money for like one part of it, but I don't have the money for like the other part that I need to do first, and it's hard to find anyone that wants to give you the money until that part's done. So it's like, it's a game. He's like, if this was done, I get so many people sign on this immediately because they love to put money in something that's immediate. Like, look, we did this.
Yes.
And so there's so many of those things that come up no one thinks about out there. Like, yeah, we could do this, but I can't yet because there's this obstacle. And
But for a town like Newport, it's just essential.
Yes.
Right? We don't have, the
Tax base.
the tax base in Newport to pay for all of these upgrades and investments ourselves without just busting the tax rate. So we've been really lucky to get so much grant money for a town this size, and I think we have to keep doing that. That's the only way forward.
Yeah, we have to constantly keep looking for things, and everything's expensive.
And thanking our fellow citizens across the country for all of our grants that come out from out of state.
Some of them.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
But if we don't get it, they will,
Right.
and we'll be paying for theirs. So
Yeah, we always had that conversation, like, because I look at like, wait, that's extra money that should have gone back to taxpayers, but it's like, so it's pork in the federal budget, but if it doesn't come to Newport, we just took our money and put it somewhere else. It's not going to benefit us. So it's nice to see it actually benefit us from time to time. And, like the sewer treatment plant too, like that's huge. I know it's been an issue for quite a while, but same thing, everything's slow moving. It's not like, hey, we're going to go fix this. So it's a lot of money to shell out. So, yeah, anything else you want to talk about today?
I had a couple
you got
questions. I got
Go for it,
questions.
man.
Well, now you made me think of it. So first off, I want to ask how it's Officer Stark that's down
Yes.
on the border. How is she
Yes,
doing? Does she need anything?
Officer Lester now. She got married
Apologize.
last year.
Congratulations.
Yeah. But yeah, she's doing great. She's serving us down on the southern border, supporting Customs and Border Patrol in the immigration enforcement function. I stay in touch with her. So she's doing really well, but man, we can't wait to get her back.
That's good.
Is it this summer, or is it? She was gone for a while, isn't
It's
it?
on a year.
Yeah, it was, and when there's a deployment, it starts before you actually fly down there, and it ends after you fly back, because there's a period of time to prepare for the deployment and then a period of time to wind down. So really, when all is said and done, it ends up being almost a year and a half. But I think it's an important sacrifice for the town of Newport to make to support our country, and she's not the only one. Officer Foster, who just came off field training, he serves. Officer Seymour serves. So we have quite a few employees that serve, and but it's a source of pride for us. And everybody else, all the rest of us at the PD, will do what it takes to cover for them while they're away. But it's worth it to support the country.
She's doing all right. Doesn't need anything from us, though. Any care packages we need to get the kids to work on or anything? Or?
Oh, I'm sure everybody loves care packages, but yeah.
And then the other question I was going to ask you is, you kind of touched on it. You've only been in the job for less than a month, but anything in the short term that we as a community can look out for, help you out, make your job easier? Like if you had your wish for the day, if there's one thing that, like, it's not necessarily illegal that we're doing as a town, but something that's just like, man, if these guys would stop doing this or something. Anything, your wish list?
We actually got really lucky this year in terms of the weather and the snowstorms, but perennially the winter parking issue for the highway department comes up every single year, and I certainly know what a pain in the butt it is to have to get up in the evening during a snowstorm and move your car and move it again and all of that, but a lot of people don't know that the highway department is out there at midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not just about plowing during a snowstorm. After you've plowed the snow off the side of the road, then it has to be removed, and that takes so much work. And so every time that the highway department's going out there late at night, they're calling us saying, you know, oh, there's 3 cars, there's 5 cars parked out on Main Street, and then we're trying to knock on people's doors, call them in the middle of the night, asking them to move their vehicle. So I know it's a pain, but that's one of those little things that can make everybody's life easier.
And that's through May, right? Like on the signage anyway, I think.
Yeah, through April.
Or
yeah.
April? Is it through?
Yeah,
April?
through April. And, you know, since we've been lucky in January and February, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't get hit in March.
One or 2 more good ones? I hope not. I saw some robins out in the yard yesterday, so that's a good sign.
And then now that we're coming out of winter time, I think the next thing coming up, which is, again, a pain for everybody, including myself, where I live up in Croydon, is we're coming into the dog registration season. And again, a lot of times I think people don't understand why the dog registration system exists, but we get to see it on a daily basis, why it's important, which is number one, you guys probably see on Facebook almost every day, people's dogs, you know, wander off as dogs do. And when we come across a dog, you know, if they've been registered, we can look it up, we can notify the owner, hey, your dog got out, you know, before we have to take it to the Humane Society or something like that. And if we can't identify a dog and we need to bring it up to the Humane Society, that's a cost on all of us in our tax rate, because we have a contract. We have to pay, you know, $200 a pop to bring the dogs to the Humane Society, and that's on everybody. So dog registration is important for that. The other reason why it's important is we do somewhat regularly have to investigate accidental dog bites. The dog registration system is linked in with the vaccination system. So if we can look up that a dog has had its rabies vaccine through the registration, then the dog doesn't need to be quarantined. If we can't immediately find those records, then the dog has to be quarantined at a vet for 10 days, which again is big money. So.
I thought I was going to say mud season. I'm already starting to experience that on my road, but it's kind of funny. I'm totally guilty of this. I've gotten a call many times from the PD. Do you have, and this was before I lived on Springfield Road, I just had land, do you have a livestock, you have a pig running down the road, or the cow? And it's like, oh man, I've gotten those calls many times. It's not fun when you're not home or close to home.
It's not fun when you're the patrol officer responding to those calls too, because, you know, we're the place that people call when you don't know who else to call. And so, you know, they'll call us for a horse in the road or, you know, something like that. And I respond and I get there and sure enough, there's a horse standing right in front of me, but I've never dealt with a horse before. I don't know where it belongs or how to get it there. So
it's an ideal of pigs, goats, well, chickens are easy, cows. And I can tell you right now that there's nothing you can do. Even me, it's like, okay, I'll bring some food up and hope to motivate them with that. Yeah. But if the pig's, you know, 500-600 pounds, or the cow's 1,000 pounds. And you see all these shows, you know, cowboy rides up on the horse and he lassos it and jumps off and pulls it. I call BS because now
I've seen that in Texas, baby. Like
they must have small
happens.
Cows in Texas because
well, they I'm telling
cows.
you, those guys, some gals know how to do that stuff, man. It's impressive.
And when you guys aren't going to call,
Hampshire.
I've gotten a call from my buddy like, hey, your pig's down on Patrick Wiggins' like front step, like rutting up, and I'm like, oh my god. Go down there, try to, come on, let's go back home.
He has gigantic pigs. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the last thing I'd asked of people is the same thing that I'm asking to my officers in terms of getting out and connecting with each other. You know, I'm telling my officers, let's get out there and have those conversations and build those relationships. And I'd just ask that everybody do the same with my guys. If they see them out there, you know, flag them down, stop them, have a chat, you know, get to know each other. Because we do. We are a younger, newer staff on average right now. And so it's a two-way street building those relationships so that we know each other, so that when an incident happens and we need each other, we already have each other saved in our cell phones and we know who to call.
Yeah, it's a tough job. Like, we definitely thank everyone that does it because it's...
And on top of that, you got 3 citizen soldiers too. So it's just amazing. We have such a great town.
We do.
And I appreciate you taking the time so we can highlight the good side of things. Although, park where you're supposed to park, register your dog, and be friendly and talk to people.
You got it.
Per chief.
All right, Alex. Well, thanks for coming
Yeah,
in.
thank you.
Definitely want to get you in more often, and especially if anything new and exciting come up, you want to get out to the community. Yeah, you're welcome anytime. Come in, and we'll try to get people to show up and try to do our part. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching Tim and Steve Show.
Artlist.io